Hi, everyone. Tonight, this very late evening, we're going to be presenting on the relocation of our TK2 students at Hermosa View to the Hermosa Vista School upon its completion. And Mr. Scott and I are going to talk about that transition and some of the components, particularly related to the procedures around pickup and drop off. Slide. Thank you. So just to take a walk back to our prior board presentation, the construction at View will begin February 2021, but a site study revealed that there was going to be a disruption to electrical power upon the demoing of a parking lot. And after evaluating this multiple different ways, we concluded that the campus must fully close for the remainder of this year. So originally K1 students were going to remain on that campus, but they could no longer do so. So we had to go back to the drawing boards to figure out a relocation plan for our K1 students. Slide. So this took us back to the environmental impact report, where there were multiple options that were explored, and then their impact was explored on doing what we call an interim placement. So during the 2021 year, and then also going into the 21-22 year potentially, there is an interim placement of students while construction at View takes place. And what was determined from that is we looked at what we call option 2 that was under consideration. So as opposed to what the board ultimately decided, which was option 4, another option in place was option 2, which placed TK2 at Hermosa Vista School during the interim period and grades 3-4 at Hermosa Valley School. This option, in light of COVID and in light of the immediate need to move, and also in light of TK2 waivers and TK2 being the only grade levels that can open, we decided that option 2 is now the most valuable option to proceed with the interim placement for the 2021 school year. Slide. To provide notification of this plan, we did a series of communications. So communication was provided to the staff, notifying them of the plan, and then we held staff meetings to particularly focus on the View staff about the new relocation. We also sent out a community or parent email notifying the school community parents of the notification. And then furthermore, we sent out a broader community notification that went to the city. And then we also hand delivered letters, hard copy letters on the doorsteps of our Vista school neighbors. In that, there was a survey that was provided, or you could email an email listing in order to have questions asked. We didn't get that many questions, but I just want to encourage the community that anyone that has a question, they can continue to reach out, and we'll continue to try to answer those questions, whether it be a community member, a parent, or a staff member, or a student. We're happy to answer questions, and all are welcome. So these, we didn't receive any, but these were the questions that we did receive. Will siblings be able to drop off at the same time? The answer is yes, and Mr. Scott will talk about that a little bit later in his presentation. And the same will be available when we open at View, that siblings can be dropped at the same time, though recognizing that there's a staggered start. Will this move be permanent? We'll talk about how long, as of right now, this move would be for, but it would not ultimately be permanent. The final placements of grade levels at Vista School is grades 3-4, and then TK2 will be at View School. Grade 5 it will also remain at Valley. And then would Valley be more crowded under this plan? And I'm going to talk a little bit about the numbers. The short answer is yes, but that's got to be taken kind of in a larger context. Slide. So the move timeline question, as of right now, we have an interim placement for this school year. I do think that we will need to consider what is to be done for the 21-22 school year. But the first thing we need to do is negotiate the school year and complete a successful move. So much about next school year remains unknown. I do not believe, if I'm being frank, that it'll be a complete return to normalcy. I think that we will still be dealing with COVID at that time, though I do believe we'll be dealing with it in a substantially less way, or substantially less serious way. But construction will still be very much happening, and View Campus at that point in time will be, as it will be by February and March, not operable. This is not a new plan. During the 21-22 school year, View Campus was not going to be available for that entire school year. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I got that question a few times with some community members surprised that View would not be open next year. That under the construction plan, it was never going to be open, that it would take at least a year for the construction to take place. But that as of right now is the current plan, that we are changing the interim placements for this school year. Slide. As far as the Valley enrollment question goes, so under option 4, which is the option that was in place prior to these changes, there would have been K1 students at the Valley School, and that would have been an additional 199 students. Under this new plan, option 2, at grades 3 and 4 will be present at Valley, and that is 263 students. Not necessarily additional, because 4th grade's already there, but if you're just doing a straight comparison of those two place grade levels, so it's an additional 64 students. I would say something to keep in mind is that currently right now, there aren't students attending Valley in grades 3 through 4, and we have no definite timeline of when those students are going to attend. And then even looking forward into next year, the 2nd grade numbers are actually less than the 4th grade numbers. So there would be a reduction of students. It would still be slightly more, but we're talking 40 additional students versus 60 additional students. So while I do think, yes, there will be high numbers, we've already determined the number of classrooms necessary and the spaces necessary to accommodate those students, and we can fit them on that campus. There's always going to be a tight squeeze, but that is the sheer numbers of it. And again, just to emphasize right now, we don't have those students on campus, and as I mentioned, even the timeline for opening grades 6 through 8 is very much undetermined. Slide. So this is our timeline breakdown. I won't walk through it in substantial detail, because you can read it there. But the substantial moves, you mean like are in place for a start date at Vista Campus and a 3rd grade relocation by Monday, February 22nd. And as it was mentioned, or a construction completion, I won't belabor this timeline date. Slide. What about grades 3 through 5? As mentioned in the earlier reopening progress presentation, the Department of Health has delayed that reopening. So, in relation to the numbers at Valley for right now, I would say it's very much undetermined when that campus will come back online for in-person instruction. I believe at the earliest it would be March. Slide. So next I'm going to turn it over to Ted, and he is going to give an overview of the Vista campus. including entry and exit points and drop off and pick up. Ted?
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. So here we see a rendering of the Hermosa Vista campus with some details added that you might not have seen before. Please first note the entrance of the school on 25th Street. You can see that parents have two locations for valet drop-off. The first is a cutout right off of 25th Street, where parents and guardians can pull off the street and drop their students off with our valet staff members. If you follow the arrows around, you can see the concurrent valet drop-off in the school's parking lot as well. Also note that in the age of COVID, parents will need to show their Beach Cities Health District screener at the valet locations, and then students will maintain their physical distancing while they walk to the front gate of the school, where they'll receive their secondary screener, which is a temperature check before the students enter through the gates. Okay. Once students enter the campus, they'll proceed to the blacktop. You can see that in the middle of the diagram. This is the area where they'll line up, maintaining physical distancing again, and wait for their classroom teacher to escort them into the building for class. The next area that I wanted to point out is the rear entrance of the school, right off of 26th Street and Morningside Drive. The rear entrance is going to be the key. It's going to be key, really, to a smooth entrance and exit of the school day. This entrance lines up with Valley Park, and what we will see this as a preferred entrance in my mind for those that are walking or those that want to drive and park around the park and walk their students into that entrance. Okay, slide please. Okay, so this simply shows the big picture of the View campus, highlighting the front and rear entrance. So it's the same rendering without the classrooms. And actually, I want to talk about the classrooms. One of the questions that was brought up to me before this meeting tonight was, Michelle, can you go back a slide just so I can explain? Thank you. So there was a question about how I determined what grade levels went where. And so what I did is I placed all the kindergarten classrooms on the first story of the building. And then I had 2 classrooms left, and I wanted to make sure I had 2 first grade classrooms so that if they needed to have a buddy class, they could be together. So all of kinder on floor 1, 2 first grade classrooms, and then upstairs we have the rest of first grade and all of second grade, as well as special ed and Sparks Lab. Okay, thank you. Slide please, Michelle. One more. Thank you. Okay. At the top of this page, wait, so where am I at? So this is just a big picture. So I wanted the board to be able to see and the community to be able to see how the campus fits in with the whole deal. If you notice, you can see Morningside Drive and the arrow pointing right to our rear entrance, and you can see 26th Street pointing to the front entrance. Okay, slide please. All right. Now, this is where we get into the nitty-gritty and talk a little bit about what's happening and actually entrance for the campus. So at the top of this page, you see that TK Kinder first and second grade. Notice the 15-minute staggered start and stop times. Okay, so that's just staggered start times. Looking at the artist rendering, you can see that there are 2 entrance locations. Again, the front 25th Street valet, and the rear for the walkers. Parents and students are required to properly wear their masks while they're on campus for student drop-off. In preparation for students' entry, we ask that parents and guardians visit Beach Cities Health District website for the screener and show the screener to us. For parents that carpool or walk students, I really wanted to point this out. We ask that the parents show 1 green screen for everybody in their party. So if they have 3 or 4 kids, they need to ask those questions ahead of time so that when they're showing that green screen, they're verifying the folks in their care. Masked and gloved staff members will greet the students at both locations, 26th Street and the valet line. Looking for the Beach Cities Health District screener, students receive the temperature check at the front or rear gates, and then they proceed onto the blacktop and line up for class. Slide, please.
I want to take an opportunity to highlight some of the traffic mitigation measures, and this was as part of our North Traffic Management Plan. So on the south side of campus, that is for drop off and pickup vehicle only if you are indeed driving to school. However, I also want to point out that though the 26th Street entrance on the north side of campus, or the above arrow, is for pedestrian access, that community members who do drive from other parts of town could park in the public park area, Valley Park, and or the Kiwanis Club, and walk their children to that entrance. So if you were looking to avoid the rush of 25th Street, then you have that opportunity, and that further would support traffic mitigation. Slide. Also wanted to highlight the Safe Routes to School network, and so this gives you, this is also available in the NTMP, but this points out if you are walking to school with your child, then where crossing guards are located, as well as stop signs and signals. And we'll have this presentation up, and we'll make these images available as well as through our NTMP. But it's just good to know of like where those traffic features are, and encouraging our families that would like to walk to school that they could do so, and do so safely. Slide. On the note of traffic mitigation, I think it's just important to continue to note that this is a reopening or an opening of school like we've never seen. At the View campus, 500 students converging onto campus for a start time, is much different than effectively half the number of students, less than half actually, coming to campus in 15-minute intervals on an AM/PM schedule. And as you can see with the numbers, at the high water mark, it's 49 students, and at the low water mark, it's 39 students arriving. Speaking as a former elementary principal on a campus that had 675 students that all arrived for the same start time, the rush of traffic for all those cars would take a period of 15 minutes at its highest point. Not even that, maybe 5 to 7 minutes. So I would say that we're going to see traffic patterns that really are beyond sort of what we can imagine. I've had the opportunity to talk to colleagues in Orange County, or in those schools that have started and are using staggered start times and AM/PM schedules, and it's kind of a ghost town, because that is just not many individuals showing up at once. If you think about it, that 47 students is really 2 classes of kids. So I just want to highlight, when we think about traffic and traffic mitigation, this is going to be an entirely different game. I would say rather than a rush, it's going to be a trickle, but a constant trickle, probably during the course of the school day. Slide.
And one point I just want to make as well, just to piggyback on what Dr. Johnson said, what's also amazing about that traffic is that it's going to be divided between 2 entrances. So you're going to take, at the high end, 49 students divided by 2 entrances. So that's really going to be a beautiful thing. On this slide, this just reiterates the drop-off procedures a little bit, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of them. A few things that we're asking parents to do: please arrive wearing their masks and maintaining the 6 feet social distancing. Teachers will walk students inside to either use hand sanitizer or wash their hands before they take their seats. Students will be allowed to enter campus. If this is the bottom box there, they'll be allowed to enter campus no earlier than 5 minutes prior to their start time. However, if parents have children, have siblings that have different start times, we will allow them to deliver any siblings to campus, and we will maintain supervision of those children in an outdoor holding area where, again, they'll maintain their mask and their social distancing. It's not for a recess, it's just simply to support our parents in making drop off and pick off more seamless. So I just wanted to point those things out. Slide, please. Okay, again, this is the exit procedure, where if you notice the start and start times, notice the staggers. If you see the different artist rendering, you can see the two locations. For walkers, parents and guardians are asked to maintain social distancing and wear a mask to pick up their students. Once their students have been returned, we're going to ask them kindly to leave the area so that we can clear it for the next group, because we're going to be running concurrent groups every 15 minutes. It's the same thing with vehicle drop-off and pickup. Parents are asked to stay in their vehicle wearing their mask and to have their students' names really visible, and we have a template for that we're sending out to the community so that their names are visible in the window so that our valet staff can quickly load up to 3 vehicles at a time and get students safely back into their vehicles. Slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Stephen, yes, sorry.
Not to interrupt the flow, but just for timing purposes. Can I get a motion to extend the clock?
Oh,
I believe we got till 11, correct?
Yeah, I'll move for another 30 minutes.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second? My screen. Second. Thank you, Maggie.
I can talk a little faster if you'd like.
No, you're good. Take your time with this, Ted, because this information is important.
It really is important, and it's information that we're going to be, the community is going to be seeing, and we're going to keep pushing it out again and again and explaining these things. On this next slide,
we didn't complete that. I'm doing a bad job. Let's just make sure we get the vote on this. If we just put our hands up, I think we've got everyone on screen now. Quentin, are you in? Okay, we've got 5 A's.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, on this slide, I just wanted to point out a few areas and really to iterate some of the things that are key for the community to know. Again, staying in their vehicles is going to be very, very important. If they are late to pick up a child, the child will be placed in a waiting area on campus. So we're really asking parents to be on time, and we know that this is unavoidable at times. However, it will delay them picking up their students. This is all quite, let's see, students will be called and directed to your vehicle. Yeah, all of this is much a reiteration of something I've already said. But again, we're just making it very clear that this is the protocol. Slide, please. There we go.
I have this one, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
So I just want to emphasize about visitor parking to our parents and the community. So during COVID and its protocols, there are no visitors or volunteers without an appointment during the 2021 school year. All non-school personnel or non-students has extremely limited access to the campus. So it's just something to highlight that there will or should not be much parent parking at the school because of the COVID-19 protocols. So, you know, school meetings such as IEP meetings or parent conferences or any other meetings, they will all be held virtually for the remainder of the school year. So effectively, visitor parking will be primarily for emergency pickup only. And I want to emphasize to our families for emergencies, because at this point in time, like students are only at school for 2 hours under an AM PM schedule. So really, you mean like when they're here, you mean like let's make sure they're there for the full day, or you know what is the current full school day, and avoid doing early pickups. Emergencies happen, I mean like, but that's the case.
Sure.
And then just another thing to highlight too is that though the school day is shorter, we need our parents to go home. You mean like, you know, like I would understand the inkling to want to, you mean like wait around just because the school day is so short, but there are not places to park as you've seen. And I mean, let's be honest, like this is a small town. Come on, it's best little city. So you can drive home, I mean, like, and then come pick up your child in an hour or two. I know it's a great inconvenience, but like that's inevitable because of the schedule. So we strongly encourage our families to drop and then to return home. Slide. I want to take a minute to talk about the parking rules in our lot. So those parking spaces on site, I have to kind of read this because it is sort of language, and I want to make sure it's very clear. So parking spaces in the on-site school parking lot shall be available for use by the general public on weekends, school holidays, and the summer season between the last and the first day of the regular school calendar. So effectively, when school is not in session, that parking lot is available to the public. The parking spaces shall be available for use by the public on the designated days at all times except between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. of any day with no maximum stay. So in that case, so if you see by those hours, while there is no maximum stay, cars cannot be parked in there for the length of the entire night because there's no parking in the lot between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. The on-site school parking lot shall be available for use by the general public on school days during the regular school calendar after hours. The parking spaces shall be available for use by the public on the designated days from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. for a maximum of 3 hours. So just something to keep in mind about those parking lot rules. And we will have signs posting because I know there's a little bit of a labyrinth here and what the rules are, but we'll have signs clearly posted that explain the rules of the public parking lot when it is available as a public parking lot. So that signage will be available. If you are a member of the Vista community and you notice that there are violations of this rule, what we've done is we've set up a page on our website where you can report violations that you notice to our business services. So if you go to hbcsd.org and then click on business services, Hermosa Vista School parking lot comment form, and if you do a slide, Michelle, for me. And here's a visual here of how to access that. So there's our webpage, hbc.org, business services, and then the Hermosa Vista School parking lot comment form. And then you'll see in the right image there, there will be a comment form where you can report violations. Of course, if you see a crime being committed or it is an emergency, please call Hermosa Beach PD or 911. However, if you just notice that there are just consistent violations or just strange occurrences occurring in that public parking lot, we have a space where you can relay that information, and we have someone who is monitoring that comment form, so they'll receive it and follow up. Slide.
Okay, thank you. So the main point I wanted to make on this slide is that all the protocols that we have delineated for the TK2 reopening plan at View are going to be strictly followed at Vista. It's exactly the same plan. It's just changing locations. And Dr. Johnson and myself and the team have spent a great deal of time adjusting the protocols to the new site, but all the protocols with LA County Public Health are the same. Okay, slide. Playground and snack breaks. In regards to the playground and snack breaks, I just want to make a few points. You can see that the recess snack schedule is much more restrictive due to LA County Public Health protocols. Students will be monitored by their classroom teacher during this time with masks on while maintaining physical distancing. Students will be able to remove their masks to eat their snack while keeping that distancing, and then put their masks on at the earliest possible point. That's where we're at. That is in alignment with LA County Public Health. Students also on playgrounds will need to only interact with their cohorts while with their classroom cohort. So they are not allowed to cross over cohorts and play with other children. And again, what we're doing is we're breaking up the playgrounds areas into 6 different areas so that teachers can maintain their approximately 12 students and keep them physically distanced from the other students and not crossing over. That's really important. Slide, please. Okay, these are the room assignments, and I talked briefly about this before. If you notice, Ms. Pang, Ms. Hart, Koch Corman, Ms. Bradley, Ms. Lang, Ms. Dunn, they're all on the first floor, rooms A101 through A106. Then also on the first floor is Miss King and Miss Langford, both first grade teachers. As for the upstairs, the second floor, Miss Bateman, Miss Ager, Miss Trout, Miss Murtha, Miss Jones, and Miss Trevino, and Miss Novice and Miss Robinson. There are the rest of our first grade and our second grade teachers are upstairs, as well as Miss O'Leary and Miss Schwab. Also not on this list is Miss Gill, who will be in having the best view in town from the media center. I will be visiting her frequently. I know some people have offered to, maybe Dr. Johnson and Miss Gluck have offered to move their offices upstairs to our library, but I'm sorry to say I have teachers in there. Slide, please. Okay. Symptoms and algorithms. Okay, so staff, staff monitoring students in the health room will use the process in this diagram to triage students. Staff taking care of 6 students are provided with a medical grade mask to wear themselves and a medical grade mask for the student to wear if it can be tolerated by the student until the student leaves the building. Per LA County Public Health guidelines, a student is excluded from the program due to a COVID symptom will need to stay home in isolation and not return to school for a minimum of 10 days after onset of symptoms, and until their symptoms have improved and they are fever-free for at least 24 hours without fever-reducing medication. This is just a great diagram for our staff to use that exactly tells us how to handle students with symptoms and assess the situation. Slide, please. On this slide, we see a roadmap that guides our staff regarding the COVID-19 symptoms algorithm in the event a student or staff has a red screen on the Beach Cities Health District app, or they have tested positive for COVID, been exposed to COVID, or are symptomatic. Student symptoms including fever greater than or equal to 100.4 degrees, new cough different from the baseline, diarrhea or vomiting are the symptoms that we're looking at. This is a really helpful tool. Our staff has this. We have this posted many places around the building. It is the same protocols for View or Vista, and yet it's just such a clear way to assess and keep on track that we are really putting student health first and student and staff health. Slide, please. Okay, cleaning and sanitation. Teachers will reach out to parents regarding the need for organized individual supplies for each student so that students will not share supplies throughout the day. All high contact usage classroom items will be sanitized after each use. That includes manipulatives, anything they would use in the classroom. Cleaning schedule will be followed by both the teachers and the site custodians. Classrooms will be disinfected every day between student cohorts as well as at the end of the school day. Slide, please. Exposure management plan. Jason, I believe you were going to talk about this one. Is that correct? You're muted, sir.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Sorry, Ted, I'm muting you, just a heads up. For the exposure management plan, there's something I want to just highlight here, which is the absolute necessity for families to notify the school in the event that they are positive for COVID or that they're experiencing COVID-like symptoms. This is critical. There is no margin for error. You know, this is not the days, and I was an elementary principal, so like I know it, where you're trying to sneak your kid in, I mean, because you loaded them up on Tylenol and you got to get to work that day. I get it, but like those days are over. And if your kid has any sort of COVID-like symptoms, do the right thing and ensure, I mean, like that they are not going to school and that you are taking them to get a COVID test. And you should get one for yourself for your own safety as well. But please notify the school. And if you do test positive for COVID, please let us know as soon as possible. And we will continue to message this out through myself and through Mr. Scott. But I cannot emphasize enough that we need your help and we need to work together as a community. If we're going to get kids back in school, then we have to be on the same page about this. That if you have COVID-like symptoms, or you are positive for COVID, you cannot send your kid to school, period. And again, we live in a world where I have to say this. So make sure that you are being always erring on the side of caution to protect your teacher, protect the fellow students in the class, and to protect yourself. We do have an HBCSD COVID dashboard where we will be tracking positive cases. It's anonymous, there's no names, but it just helps communicate to our staff and to our community an awareness of how many COVID cases that we've had. And this is a common practice that school districts have adopted, and it is recommended by the Department of Health. In the event that you have tested positive for COVID and there are potential exposures, we do have school officials, our nurse, who will be conducting contact tracing. It's not because we're being nosy, it's because the Department of Health has asked us to assist with contact tracing so we can help stop the spread. So please work with our school staff and support us in working to make sure that we can notify the people that need to know if they've been exposed to COVID. And then, as mentioned, should an exposure occur, we do have a plan ready to go and notification letters ready to be sent out. And it could result in the closure of a class, the school, or a district. And an outbreak is considered 3 or more cases that are epi-linked, or that they can show a connection between them. But we're going to err on the side of caution. And if I have to close a class, I'm closing a class. That means safety. If I need to close a school, I'm closing the school. With respect to the board, I'm closing the school. So we have to be able to act fast and act quickly in order to err on the side of caution. Slide.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Johnson, and I can't thank you enough for your leadership with this, because it is my #1 focus as we go into these reopenings, that I keep my students and my staff safe. It is primary. It is above all other things in my mind. So in alignment with Dr. Johnson, it's the same thing. If I notice or I see things or I hear things, I'm going to make those phone calls. I'm going to reach out to parents and say, hey, is this true? If a parent is awaiting a test for COVID, I'm going to reach out and ask them not to send their student to school because we don't know, right? So we're gonna err on the side of caution and keeping everybody safe. TK2 students and staff will relocate to Vista. Hopefully everything to plan says February 22nd, and we're excited about it. Vista's coming along beautifully. I'm there 2 or 3 times a week now, watching the progress, working with HBEF on the bricks, and everything's coming into play. We will release an informational video with all the details on the first days of Vista, the week of February 15th. We're going to be shooting that video live on campus and getting that video out, just like the one we just pushed out for the reopening of View. Stay tuned, more to come. We're really excited about the new school. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to follow the protocols. We're going to do it right, and we're going to get kids safely back on campus. So, slide, please.
And that concludes our presentation. At this time, we'll take questions or comments from members of the board.
Thank you, team. I'll go in this order. Quentin, Doug, Jen, Maggie. Oh no, yeah, good, get that order, please.
Okay, thanks guys for the presentation. I'm excited to get kids back on campus. No questions at this time.
Okay, Doug.
Yeah, no questions at this time. Thank you again for the entire team's work to put all this together. I know how much work it is to work through all these protocols and test them out, see how they work and adjust, and continuing to adjust everything. A lot of long days and late nights to make that happen. So I greatly appreciate it. Really looking forward to getting the kids over there and some of us over there to hopefully see it also. So thanks.
Maggie.
Is it me or Jen? Me?
Nope. Oh, Jen, sorry,
Yep.
thank you. Yep,
Oh.
Jen.
No, just big thank you. The presentation was great. I did have one, sorry, I do have one question, and it's just on the map, Ted. I have to go look back at the document, but there wasn't some arrows in the, this was just, if when I read it, I, you know, and I was trying to put my being a kindergarten parent hat on, where currently on 25th Street, where there's the valet line that goes kind of in the cutout. And then there's a second valet line that's right in front of the really front entrance.
Mhm.
It just, the arrows on the map are a little confusing. I think, so just, we might just want to revisit that particular part before we send that communication out to parents. Because if it was me, I would think that I could pull my car into the valet on 25th and then circle into the parking lot. That's just based on the red line. So I know there's a pork chop right there and it won't let you go into the parking lot like that. But if as a kinder parent, I would be like, I don't want to let my kid get out of the car
Mhm.
without me, and who's monitoring them walking around that corner. Those are just like some of the, I know you'll figure all that out. It just, from that particular map, it was.
I appreciate the feedback. You know, those maps were a bit of a labor of love
Yes,
as we created them out of thin air. So yeah, thank you for the feedback, and we'll definitely take a look.
Because, oh, sorry, just the only thing is, it looks to me, if you're not familiar with the school site, it looks like there's an entrance on 25th Street in that kind of depression where we're going to put the flagpole. Based off that map, I know there's not one, but just like the arrow seems to indicate you get to go in right there, and you're not, you're going around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'll definitely look at it. Thank you so much.
That's it. Great job. I know it's a lot of work. You're working hard, so we all recognize that. So thank you.
Thank you.